Hi everybody, welcome to our Monday whip around of the main Thai news stories. A lot of foreigners behaving badly and also just some updates on stories. This first one reaching back more than 2 decades. The husband of Lady of the Hills is released on bail after being quizzed over her murder 21 years after the body found. And the husband of the so-called Lady of the Hills has been bailed by police, this is in the UK, after being quizzed over her murder for 3 days. David Armitage, 61, was held at Heathrow Airport at the weekend after flying back to the UK from Thailand. He was arrested on suspicion of the murder of his wife, Lamduan Armitage, 36, whose partially clothed body was found in a stream in Yorkshire back in 2004. The retired lecturer was interviewed by cold case detectives before being released this afternoon, this was last week, pending further investigations. In another version of the story from the BBC, husband bailed over Thai woman's 2004 death. Mrs. Armitage became known as the Lady of the Hills during attempts to identify her after her body was found back in 2004. Police confirmed her husband, David Armitage, who was earlier arrested on suspicion of her murder, had been released on conditional bail. And we can imagine that the UK police will compile all the evidence. That case may go to court sometime in the future. Now, another foreign expat who's probably heading home. American fugitive wanted by FBI arrested for overstay in Thailand. And the arrest came after Division 4 of the Immigration received a tip-off of a suspicious foreigner allegedly overstaying in Nakhon Ratchasima province. Officers located the individual and requested to see his passport. The suspect, who was unable to produce his travel documents, claimed his passport was being renewed at the US Embassy. And officers took him to the Nakhon Ratchasima Immigration Office for biometric fingerprint verification, which identified him as Mr. Negri, with surname withheld, a 57-year-old American citizen whose permission to stay in Thailand had expired. He was subsequently charged with overstaying his visa, but he was also wanted by authorities in the US state of Georgia and the FBI on charges related to child exploitation and distribution of child abuse materials. Thai authorities are now working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the US Embassy to process his extradition. And today's program brought to you by the UN as we go to the next story about a Russian expat. And the story from mirror.co.uk, beauty queen thrown into hellhole immigration jail in Thailand over visa breaches. And a former child beauty queen, Alexandra Tikhomarova, is facing a stint in Bangkok's squalid and overcrowded IDC immigration prison after reportedly overstaying her visa. And says she was crowned Little Miss Russia in 2013. The 23-year-old's currently being held in harsh conditions, without food or water, find that difficult to believe, alongside robbers and rapists, according to Russian news media. And Ms. Tikhomarova, who was a well-known child model in Russia, is alleged to have overstayed her visa by 10 days. It's claimed she'd been previously thrown out of Thailand and deported to Russia after running into issues on a previous visit. Russian news outlets claim they disapproved of her rumoured work as an escort. This has been denied by other members of the family, as one relative named Maria told a regional Pravda newspaper, "I'm in great shock. Why did everyone assume that she's an escort? This is nonsense. It's impossible." Impossible as it might be, she'll be languishing in the IDC until she's deported once again to Russia. As we go to the story up in northern Thailand from last week about the 4 Israelis who were deported for some bad behaviour in the town of Pai. And the follow-up in Khalsot English says foreign tourists' tensions rise in Pai as locals report harassment. And the conflict between Pai locals and foreign tourists who display disrespectful behaviour towards locals has become prominent, especially this week when a group of Israelis disrupted medical personnel's work at the Pai hospital, leading to complaints on social media. Although police have investigated the incident, leading to legal action and visa revocation for 4 Israeli tourists, the anti-foreigner sentiment, particularly towards Israelis, hasn't subsided. One restaurant put up a sign saying, "No Israel here," as shown in the photo. ironically with a huge welcome sign in the background there. One of the shop owners is quoted in the article, living in fear of these people's behaviour. Every Tuesday and Friday, from what I've observed, we have to close the shop early, feeling unsafe. There are only 2 of us women. What should we do next? How do we plan for business and safety? Feeling very uncomfortable at this time. And for whatever reason, the tourism authorities in the area have released these statistics showing that in 2024, some 222,000 visitors visited Pai. Number 1 most frequent visitors, British, then Israeli, then Dutch, German, and 5 American. Interesting to note, at least in those statistics, that it seems very few Asian people visiting Pai. And acknowledging 5-star Marine, for the next time you're down in the south of Thailand, you want to head out onto Phangar Bay and visit any of those beautiful islands and the beaches. 5-star Marine have my firm recommendation, so I'm sure they'd appreciate your call. Now let's go to some, well, I suppose follow up on what's happening with these scam centres around the border. Certainly things are happening. Kicking off with a bit of good news, tortured Kenyan flees Myanmar, call scam gang into Thailand. And a Kenyan man crossed the Thai-Myanmar border to seek help in the Pop Pra district, saying he was among about 1,000 people who were tortured unless they worked for a Chinese-led scam gang. He limped into a shop yesterday morning. His body was covered with wounds. He said he'd fled a scammer town in Myawaddy, spent about 5 hours crossing a mountain and walking for a distance of over 10 kilometres to the Thai border. The Kenyan said that he'd arrived in Thailand on October the 5th last year because a Kenyan job placement firm had invited him to become a high-income chef in Thailand. And just sharing some video from Reuters there on their YouTube channel, showing some of the scam centres just over the border in this video taken from Thailand. Meanwhile, Thai solar cells, fuel destined for Myanmar, seized. And this is reported by the Bangkok Post. And security officers yesterday intercepted the smuggling of solar panels and fuel to Myanmar in separate incidents in the border western province. It says in the first incident, a combined team of soldiers spotted 2 men carrying suspicious items, and they're quoted, "The men left 5 boxes of solar panels on the spot. They're likely to be destined for the Myanmar side, given the ongoing power shortage after the cutting of power supplies." And then in the adjacent district of Myawaddy, soldiers and police arrested a 31-year-old. They stopped his pickup. They found 10 18-litre containers containing 26 litres of petrol and 114 litres of diesel. And speculating that it was heading for these Myanmar border towns and the scam centres. But none of this is going to stop the scam centres from operating, but at least shows that the Thai government are doing something at the moment, and more people coming across the border appearing from time to time as they occasionally escape these scam centres. And some news coming out of Pattaya, but this refers to something happening around the country this week. Another one of these Buddhist holidays. The PattayaNews.com reports bar closures coming this week in Thailand due to religious holiday! It says this week Thailand celebrates Maka Bucha Day, a Buddhist holiday observed on the full moon day of the 3rd lunar month. This year it falls on this Wednesday. And it says people will visit Buddhist temples to participate in rites, offer food to monks, meditate and join in a candlelight procession. It's also common for people to abstain from alcohol and other vices as a sign of respect and reflection. Due to Thai law, alcohol sales are banned on religious holidays, and as a result bars will be shut and even sales at convenience stores prohibited from midnight to midnight on Wednesday, a full 24 hours. And it says sky-high fines and major prison time are possible penalties for breaking this law. So it looks like it's going to be a bit of a dry day on Wednesday, but you've had plenty of warning, so you can stock up if you absolutely have to have a drink on Wednesday this week. And with that, I thank you for watching. Hopefully you're a bit more up to date with some of the things happening around Thailand. Big thumbs up and thank you to 5-Star Marine. Please subscribe to the channel, and we do look forward to seeing you tomorrow.